We'll check in. Colin, can you hear me?
You got it, Connor. How you doing, man?
Just had to push a couple buttons. This is the first time you and I have actually discussed racing on air. You can't see me, but we're on Zoom and I can see you. The hair looks great. The office is popping. It looks good. Good to have you on the show today.
I appreciate the kind words to start out. This is very refreshing from the normal guys I talk to.
Yeah, a change of pace. We had to get you on earlier because of 340. We will not be on. Very short edition of this show. Very tidy. So, Colin, let's get right into it. NASCAR Pinty Series this past weekend, similar to today, heat and humidity. You guys had rain, lightning. How'd the weekend go?
Man, it was. I mean, GP3R Grand Prix of Trois Rivières is easily my favorite race that we still do anywhere. The energy and the environment and the fan support there is just unprecedented. I've said this many times, but the energy that we get there is really similar to what we used to get when Tag was still running the Indy 500. Like, the fans are just awesome. Parts of the weekend I spend up in the grandstands, depending on what other series we're working in, and I can spot up there. And I mean, the people are always so excited and they're so polite. Even as a small example, it's kind of a silly thing, but as I was walking back to my car after Saturday's on track activities, I could hear a bunch of guys, kind of whispering a little bit in French. And I heard, them say a couple of times, tag spotter. And like, how the hell these guys knew that I was tag spotter, I don't know. But they handed me this fresh, brand new in the package water bottle, and they just wanted to say hi, which was really unprecedented for a schmuck kid from Stony Plain. But like, great event. Kudos to our friend Dominic Fougere. He's the organizer. I know that he works nonstop. I mean, Dom does he does a lot of motorsports broadcasting on RDS, and he works just constantly to put this thing on with his entire staff. So to be able to pull it off was just great. With the lightning delays, NASCAR's got a regulation that if there's lightning within 8 miles of the venue, we automatically go into what's called a mandatory lockdown. So we basically have to go back to our haulers, stay inside for 30 minutes. And every time they blast the horn, that resets the counter. So we were probably about 2.5 or 3 hours late starting the race on Sunday. Which wasn't really a big deal, but man, there was just chaos all over the place. Did you see any of the highlights?
Well, I'm watching it right now. Dumoulin and Villeneuve, a little bit of a mix up there. Hey.
Yeah, that wasn't Villeneuve. Villeneuve, unfortunately, so Jacques Villeneuve was making his first return to the Pinty series in at least 4 or 5 years. He had an issue with his car that they couldn't get it to start. They were about 3 laps down, fired it up. He was driving up to pull onto the track and something else happened. So, his much awaited return was very unceremonious. But yeah, you see the clip between
Dumoulin and
JF Dumoulin and Marc-Antoine Cameron.
okay, yeah.
So
Yeah,
in
that's
the
interesting.
clip, what's funny about this clip is I talked to so many people after the race, and it was really split between the people who are Dumoulin fans and the people who are Cameron fans. And I'm talking about our NASCAR counterparts, like people who watch this stuff all the time. They saw the exact same thing. They maybe didn't see this exact clip, but this was basically my perspective on pit road. This is basically how they have a spot at GP3Rs, where in the final corner, these guys were coming dead straight towards us. And the conversation was split on who was at fault for this thing, which, without necessarily knowing who's who in the clip, what's your take on it, Connor? Who's at fault here?
Well, I've watched this many a time, and it's kind of like bumper to bumper. Uh, who the 4 car, so that would be Dumoulin. It almost looks like he tries to get in front, and it totally backfires. So that's where I go at first. But you're the trained eye. I mean, was Cameron at fault there? Did he know what he was doing?
Well, there's a couple of elements to this. So it looks to me, and I can't actually see the contact, but it looks originally like Cameron knocked into Dumoulin. So in the clip, just to be fair, there's two Dumoulins, they're brothers. The first car, the 04, is JF, and the third car, the black car, the 47, is LP. Um, it looks like Cameron gets a bit of a bumper to JF in turn 8, knocks him a bit wide, which I think that's a fair move. You know, you never like getting hit, you never like getting knocked offline. But then JF, I'm not sure where his spotter was standing or what he was saying to JF. He kind of comes back midway, and then right at the, Cameron basically held a straight line. JF kind of turned into him, which obviously set forth a big sequence of events that culminated with JF hitting his brother, who's still pretty much in the championship hunt, and really ended both of their days.
Hate to see it. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like I'm gonna default to you and let you decide because you have the keen eye. For me, it's just mayhem. And as a racing fan with no horse in the race, I'm like, that was kind of cool. I'm glad everyone's okay, but I like the mayhem, and that's the kind of stuff I'm okay with personally. Colin Livingston joining us here in the CanTorque Race Report. Now you guys head out to Ontario, correct, for the Pinty's 100?
Yeah, so this starting on Monday, we'll be taking the Pinty series to dirt, which, candidly, I am really, really, really uncertain of how our cars are going to handle on dirt. I don't know why we're running on dirt other than one of our drivers, Glenn Stiers, who owns Oshweken Speedway just outside of Hamilton, has invited us, and Glenn's been he's been a big supporter. I've talked to Clinton Jeffrey, their general manager, and looking at the lineup, like they have so much going on. Like our practice sessions on Monday are at 6 p.m. and then 9 p.m. The race on Tuesday doesn't start until like 9 o'clock, and it's not scheduled to end until midnight. So these guys are throwing this as like a midweek party. We've got a bunch of cup drivers coming up. So if people have been watching NASCAR for any amount of time, they'll remember the name Ken Schrader. I think Christopher Bell is going to be competing, and I can't remember off the top of my head the third guy that's coming up, but there's going to be some big talent there. They're really just coming up because they got a shot at a win, and it's another kind of unique race. But yeah, we're hitting the road tomorrow, and I'm actually going to start driving across the country to be there because we have a go-kart race coming up next weekend.
Colin, I don't think you heard me there. Well, I'll ask that question one more time. We talked about this before the show with the GOAT of IndyCar, Scott Dixon, moving to second all time. He now has 53 wins behind AJ Foyt in that category at 67. But the discussion with GOAT, it happens in every sport. When it comes to IndyCar and you factor in, the changes in technology and driving styles, quality of drivers, how do we even start to begin this conversation? Because what Scott Dixon has been able to do, pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. I mean, not only is he one of the best all time, I'm always really reluctant to get into who's the greatest. I usually go with who my favorite is. AJ Foyt, by far and away, 7 titles, 67 wins. Scotty D, though, in the modern era, managed 6 wins against really, really strong competition. 53 wins, which moved him ahead of Mario Andretti. I think, widely accepted as one of the greatest drivers ever. Mario, ran in everything from F1 to, dirt cars. For the amount of races that Scott's had, spanning so many different cars and so many different eras from, when he did, you got one champ car win in the olden days, then moved to what was called the IRL. But now that everything's amalgamated and he's still managing to find ways to win, it's really hard. It's really easy to say that AJ is by far and away the best all time. He was probably the most versatile, but if you had AJ in his prime versus Scotty D in his prime, I don't know who I would bet money on. That's for sure. I mean, I've been fortunate to meet both of them. We raced with Foyt Racing, 1 or 2 years during the Indy 500. So, both AJ and Larry are just awesome, awesome people. They treated us great, but I'd still probably at the end of the day give the nod to our boy Scotty D.
So here's my question. Okay, so for IndyCar, you're going Scotty D. How about NASCAR? Who would you say greatest driver of all time?
Well, I would always go back to Jeff Gordon. They did things in his era that I don't think will ever get duplicated. I mean, Richard Petty is easily, Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt are going to be the first two that most people, pull off with 7 wins. Gordon only had 4 championships in his career, but he had so many wins. And, of course, when Petty started racing, there was a lot more opportunity. There were times where they could do 2, 3, 4 races a week. Petty with 200 wins, that's never ever going to get touched. And I really think behind Gordon, a close second is Kyle Busch, just based on his ability to win in everything. I mean, he in all 3 NASCAR series, I'm doing this off the top of my head, he's getting really close to Petty. And now you can't necessarily compare a Truck Series win to an Xfinity win to a Cup win, but in the modern era again, with every the competition being so much tighter, it's I kind of split between Kyle and Jeff Gordon.
Now I have to ask you Formula One. That's just the way this goes.
There's no contest, Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton. Okay, I
End of
like that.
discussion. Nobody's like, there have been great drivers. There have been, a lot, Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna. You can go back in time, but no one's even close, dollar for dollar, day for day, pound for pound, hands down, Lewis.
I'm gonna monitor the 10, 12, 60 text line and see what people say, because I know you're gonna have some people come after you. Colin, thanks so much for doing this today and getting through this. I don't have the knowledge that Gregor and Struddy have, but it was fun talking about this.
Well, you're way more polite though.
Oh well, that's you got to have one thing. That's it. That's it. That is the CanTorque Racing Report with Colin Livingston. We usually do that Thursdays at 3:40. Of course, today just with the World Juniors going on, we had to bump them up a little bit, but glad we could do so. Of course, the race report brought to you by CanTorque. There are a few tools to listen to the show, but none of them are built as well as the ones from CanTorque. Check them out at cantorque.com. We'll take a break here. Still to come on the show, we will talk to Tom Gazzola